What's up, you filthy casuals? Welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about everything PC gaming related. I'm one of your hosts, Jerem Gaming, and I am joined by Joel.
I'm also one of the hosts. I'm Joel.
Hi, Joel. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Also joined by Dave, the not-so-evil EvilViking13.
I guess I also count as a host.
And we're joined by our special guest tonight, Snoov, who's not a host.
No, not at all. You wouldn't want me to be a host anyway. I'm terrible at it.
You're the host of all your own stuff. Well, you have the most hosty background out of all of us.
Yeah, this is true.
Did you paint a wall, or is that a sheet?
It's a sheet. It's a sheet. Backdrop I made because everyone was making fun of the fact that it's all like tongue and groove pine board walls, and they're like, "Dude, you live in a fucking cabin." I got tired of that comment, so I made something.
Maybe it's just like the Skype compression, but your sheet looks pretty seamless.
No, that was a lot of hard work on my part, stapling it along one edge and stretching the ever-living crap out of it while my wife stapled the other edge.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Well,
but came out pretty well.
I've just realized I did not drop the chat overlay on, so Dave, vamp for a second while I get set up, which I should have done earlier.
Yeah, I'll do our Patreon shout-out at this point then.
All right, at this point, you should do that. I feel like this point would be a good point.
I mean, it's great because it's actually next in the notes. Yeah, we don't have any new Patreon backers this week, but we do want to give a shout-out to our current backers. I think we have how many microphones bought now? I think everybody who needed one.
Yeah, everyone has one now.
Yeah. So definitely thank you to you guys who are backing both CSG and my EvilViking13 Patreon. You guys are awesome. And also you guys who hang out in the chat and nuke spammers for us while we're on the air. That's always fun to watch. Yeah, definitely thank you guys for your support.
All right. And you can, of course, support the podcast by going to patreon.com/Casual Shenanigans Gaming. I was about to say our Twitter for a second. I was like, that's definitely not it.
And how many backers do we have now?
18, 13? I don't know.
I checked it earlier. I think you guys had 18.
Cool.
I'd love to hear feedback on like if they're getting their money's worth.
Hey, there you go.
All right, Joel.
I'm just curious.
Brutal
like,
honesty.
I'm not submitting any money to our own Patreon.
Thank
so I
you.
don't
That's
get,
good
like,
to know. I mean, I gave money towards your film Kickstarter, and see, our podcast is actually producing things on a weekly basis, and I have yet to see anything from that movie I backed. So I'm just saying.
I released a visual effects video yesterday or today.
I didn't see it. Must not have been on all the social media I follow. Actually,
I'm working on the visual effects, so I don't know if that counts.
I think I did get an email from your Kickstarter page, but I ignore all Kickstarter emails I get because it's always like, update number 76, the game's not out yet. That's usually what they are, so I don't really follow them. But, okay, so we will start the podcast, as we always do, with random musings from this past weekend. I went to a tech conference this past weekend, and most of it was super lame, as they normally are, but there were a couple cool things in regards to gaming. I got to use an Oculus Rift for the first time. It was the second generation version. I forget what the code name is for that. But actually, I thought it was cooler than the Oculus Rift. Have you guys seen the Dodo Bird or heard of the Dodo Bird?
No.
Nope.
It is a cardboard visor you put on that takes a smartphone, and a smartphone slides into place, and it kind of becomes kind of like an Oculus Rift, but it uses your smartphone screen because a lot of smartphones have super high DPI displays or PPI displays, and they're pretty cheap. So this is like, I don't know, like a $30 cardboard rig, goes over your face, has eye holes, you slide a phone in, and it actually, I thought, looked better than the Oculus Rift. Now, it wasn't playing a game, it was just showing a demo video. So I'm assuming the Oculus Rift, since it's designed for gaming, probably actually works a lot better. But from a pure visual standpoint, I think the screen on the phone was a little bit better than the screens on the Oculus Rift. But again, I was using a pretty early version. Joel, you have like the latest dev kit of the Oculus Rift. How are you enjoying it so far?
Can I just briefly confess something for Joel about his experience in Alien Isolation with Oculus Rift?
You can.
I'll let him tell his original story of how he started playing Alien in Oculus Rift, but today he's like, yeah, it's not super convenient to turn it off. Like, you have to go into the INI file and like edit it. I'm like, wait, Joel, why are you turning it off? He's like, I couldn't handle it, man. I couldn't handle it. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, I love it. I really do. I mean, like, for terrifying games, I mean, it's way different than just playing a regular scary game. It's actually being in a scary game. So, like, the games I'm looking forward to is honestly like a game like No Man's Sky. I bought this game called Discovering Space. Oh my gosh, it's incredible. Like, it really is. Like, your mind tricks you that you're there so quickly. You're in a little spaceship. It works with a 360 controller, and you're just flying around. You can choose a direction, just go to like Neptune, Jupiter, whatever, and just fly around. You can see the rings around Saturn and stuff, and it's just like, it feels so big. And it's just crazy because, like, you rotate the ship and you see the light change, and it's just like, oh, I'm flipping over, I'm upside down, and your brain just starts going, I'm upside down. Oh, it feels weird, but it takes a little getting used to because it's like doing it for real, and that's what's weird because it's like your body expects certain G-forces or things to react, and then it won't happen, and then that's what makes it feel weird. So, but I mean, for a lot of games and stuff that I've tried so far, it's just really convincing. And I could see games like No Man's Sky, like flying a ship, getting out and exploring. It's going to be amazing. Now, like, I'm like getting more used to it with Alien Isolation, but it's crazy because it's like you forget that you can go, oh, I can just tilt my head and look around stuff. And sometimes I just end up looking straight like this and just moving the controller. I'm like, oh wait, I can turn and look. You forget about that. But once you kind of get used to it, like the one thing, you can hide in a little like closet, and there's little cracks you can look through to, like, see where the alien is. I'm sitting there going, oh, where's the button to like adjust the focus and like zoom and look around? Like, I can freaking look and lean. It's really cool, but it's weird because your eyes focus on the foreground, so the background is naturally out of focus. So I'm thinking, oh, what's the button to make it out of focus? Oh, just look through it like a human. It's really fascinating. So I'm excited for, as I was talking to Jeremiah earlier this week, that I'm excited that I hope they really polish the interface on stuff, because the one Discovering Space... By
talking to me, you mean you're complaining. You're like, this is one of those things I'm worried about with the PC. It's just like, it's not user-friendly and yada, yada, yada. You're complaining about the dev kit you've been using.
Okay, have you seen,
does
like...
it work? Let me ask you this. Does it work better than your Morpheus kit you have in your house? Your Project Morpheus kit? Oh, wait, you can't buy it because it doesn't exist yet. Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, when it comes out...
That'd be like me watching a draft of your movie and being like, this is terrible. This is so much worse than the final product.
I wasn't saying it was horrible. I'm just saying I really do hope they are actually thinking about that process.
I'm sure they will, but that's probably one of their last things.
Don't even kid me that PC goes, oh, user experience? We want to really focus on that. No, they don't do that. It's just not the game. Like,
the App
they
Store's
focus on pushing the graphics and the levels, but they don't go, oh wait, how do you get the game installed? Oh, I guess we could do this and that and this and that and this. No, I if they do that, I think it's going to sell really well. It's because, I mean, right now I'm modding games like Isolation. It's not meant for it. You have to go and tweak a couple things. But even the games that are meant for it, it still doesn't work on Q, and there's a lot of like lifting it up, clicking a button, putting it back down, trying to find the keyboard. Like,
no, do you not have bridges on your keyboard? Do you not have Can you not type by touch?
No, I do, but I mean, countless times you'll sit here and you'll start looking and you'll realize you're angled this way, and so you're like, oh crap! It just happens all the time.
Okay, I guess I'd have to. I can't make fun of you. You
really do have to experience it. It's a lot different than I was expecting too, because you kind of get immersed in it so quickly that you forget.
Immersion, that's my word.
Like, I'm in real life. So I can't wait to have you guys over and watch Dave just crap his pants playing Aliens.
By the way, Joel,
Skype call dying here.
Is it? It looks fine to me.
Yeah, I can see you guys.
Yeah, Dave just froze up. All right, we'll continue without him. Joel, I played PT at your request. I replayed it. Yeah, it's not scary.
Really?
Yeah, not at all.
You play by yourself?
Yes, at night with headphones on. Everything you told me to do, I did, and it was just not scary.
Really? How far did you get?
The whole thing.
You did the whole game?
As far as I know. I mean, when I played at your house, I wasn't totally sure. Like, have I beat it? Am I still going? Like, what's happening?
Like, did you get the phone call?
Yeah, there was a phone call.
Like, did like the baby like cry and you had to stop?
It was like a week and a half. Well, that happened at your house. I'm trying to remember. I think everything that happened at your house happened, and then more. Dave says he's having internet hookups, but as far as I know, I played the whole thing. It wasn't scary.
Maybe
it was good though. I enjoyed it.
Has there been any games you ever get scared by?
Yes, Amnesia. I quit playing about 3 hours into it. I was like, screw this, I'm out. But I did go back to it later and keep playing it. But like, that's the only
I'm curious, since you already saw it. Like, I wonder if it's not as scary, because it definitely wasn't scary the second time I mean, watching you play, it wasn't nerve-wracking for me.
For me, what's scary in movies and video games is not like jump scares and stuff like that. For me, it's knowing what's going to happen or knowing what's out there and not being able to do anything about it, which is why Amnesia was scary for me. Like that's the movies I think are intense are not movies with jump scares and everything. They're movies where
same
you can
here.
see exactly what's happening, and it's just
there's
really
a lot
horrible.
of parts in that I'm not sure how far you got that aren't really jump scares. It's just like hearing something and you don't know.
It's got a very creepy vibe. I'll give it that. Like it's got a creepy atmosphere. I just didn't think it was that scary, but that's okay. Huh. But I'm not saying like
straight up badass.
I'm not. No, I've been scared by things.
Maybe you're so big that the game is scared of you.
It's a monster.
Wait, Snoof, you're tall too, right? So Joel can't. Normally,
yeah, I'm 6'2".
I still will.
Thank you. Because all Joel does, he makes fun of me for being a monster because I'm like 6'3" and that's all he goes on about because he's a tiny person.
You're 1 inch taller than him? Dude, you're so big.
I don't actually know how tall I am. I need to go back to the measure. But I can't be really any taller than like 6'3", 6'3.5", I don't think. Anyway.
No man is any taller than that.
Plenty of people are taller than that, Joel. I know from your angle it's like comparing skyscrapers and you're like, oh, that was something funny. Okay, so I was in New York City this past weekend. I'd never been, so probably anyone who's been before will be laughing at this, but driving into the city, we saw a building like off like there's all the skyscrapers in the financial district, and then there's a couple skyscrapers sprinkled out the city, and we saw one. I was like, that looks like the Empire State Building. That doesn't look that tall though. And I was like, that can't be tall enough to be the Empire State Building. And we saw a couple of buildings. I was like, that looks like that's the Chrysler Building. That doesn't look like that's tall enough to be the Chrysler Building. And then you actually get into the city and are like, I can't even see the tops of those buildings. Like you're walking around the streets and you look up and you keep looking and you keep looking. You're like, oh, way up there. The whole city is on this weird scale that just didn't make sense until I drove into it. Like by comparison, I drove back into a city near me, which has only about 800,000 people in it instead of a couple million. And driving back into that, I was like, this looks like a tiny little hick city or something. So they have monster buildings there. I think that's the point I was going into it. Anyway,
you fit right in.
We have bandied about enough. Let's talk to Snoof, who's just been sitting here so patiently, thinking, "Wow, these losers."
No. I'm a patient man.
Okay, so Snoof, for people who may not know you, what's your deal?
Yeah, who are you?
Who are you?
I'm a loudmouth prick on the internet that hates Battlefield 4 and is a hater for absolutely no reason. Depending on who you ask.
You're in the right podcast.
I'm snoov603. I've just been part of Shoosty Bang coming up on 5 years now. Mm-hmm. It's been 4.5 years. Yeah, we started in March of 2010, so it's been 4.5 years. We launched a channel. I just do gaming commentaries and gameplays and the whole 9 yards. Anything gaming related. Generally, the overall theme has been like more serious aspect of things, like trying to give tips and stuff, help people out, doing reviews and stuff like that, and without a doubt, honesty the whole way through. Mm-hmm. Lately, I've been kind of more focused on just sticking around and having fun because the games I do enjoy playing, I can't enjoy the way I used to. So kind of changed tact with how I've gone. I mean, other than that, I'm just a game enthusiast. I don't take it super hardcore like some other people do. Not that that's a bad thing. It's not even my number one passion. I mean, my number one passion is bass fishing. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd drop gaming in a heartbeat and never come back to it if it meant I could only, if I had to choose fishing or gaming. Mm-hmm. Gaming just doesn't even hold a candle to my passion for bass fishing. But I still really enjoy fishing or gaming, so I've got a lot of heart and interest in it and passion, and just kind of cover it any way that I can because I like talking about it. There's a lot of stuff that you can talk about it. There's a lot of people that share that same passion, and I enjoy talking with people about things like that. It's always interesting to get other people's takes on things they're extremely passionate about.
Oh yeah.
What I thought was interesting was I kind of following you on Twitter as you were going through your falling out of love with the Battlefield franchise phase. Oh yeah. Because I was doing the exact same thing at the same time, and it was refreshing because Dave, I love you, man. Dave is a giant Battlefield fanboy and always has been, and I accept that about him. He has been critical of the things wrong with Battlefield 4, but he's definitely is on the pro Battlefield side. And like Battlefield, it was like, I think you were going through the same struggle. It felt like, man, this is the series I've loved for so long, and it's just not fun anymore. Like, it's just, they broke the experience so bad that like, I got the impression you felt the same way. You felt like you should be liking it and you should be playing it and you should be making videos about it and you just don't want to. I mean, would that be a pretty fair summary?
Yeah. And it was a weird situation because things I had going on pretty much entirely related to work was just fucking consuming me on every level. And I went through a little bit of a bout of depression and like crazy anxiety and shit. It was awful. So like all of that dumped on top of wanting to play this game that, you know, had been really successful for our channel, like got us to where we were, and something that I had legitimately enjoyed anyway, all of a sudden just taking a massive shit and being like, I can't play this game for what I wanted to. And that was where a lot of that anger came from. Like, you know, Battlefield 3, it is what it is. And you could go in there and you could play that game any way you wanted to. If you want to do, you know, like Chawboy style and just lols and trolls, you could do that and it was fun. But if you want to take it super seriously in PTFO like all day with nothing but tryhard pants on, you could do that. It took me up until like 3 months ago to realize Battlefield 4 is incapable of being taken seriously. For the most part. I mean, it has its moments, but it lacks the consistency to be taken as a serious game. Like, the esports scene for it has got to be a fucking joke. I can't imagine how it could...
But it's going to change the scene, Snoob. It's going to change everything.
Dude, do any of you guys follow Squantoon on Twitter? Because he had the tweet of 2014.
This morning I saw it. It has like 60 favorites.
Oh,
so
did it really? I didn't.
Yeah.
I gotta find it. because it was beautiful. It perfectly summed up Battlefield 4 and pretty much every other major game release.
Because I saw a Skater Barkley tweet that where Skater's like tweet of the year from Squantoon, and I actually scrolled for like half an hour before I found it. I was like, this has got to be good.
I will put it in the chat for everyone to see. Oh wait, no, I'm not a mod, so I can't. I'll probably have my link
in chat.
Oh,
because it's a link. Oh, gotcha.
Right. So you know what? No, screw it. So he said when DICE claimed BF4 was going to set the standard for next-gen gaming, they were right. Look at all these piles of shit we currently have. Fucking poetry.
it did kind of set the stage for like the next year and a half of failed releases and everything else.
It did. It was like it was kind of like the confirmation of, oh fuck, look what AAA devs are doing after a couple of like questionable releases, and then Battlefield 4 just kind of like really put the nail in the coffin. And now Ubisoft has kind of rolled
Ubisoft is like, we could do better. We could do better.
That bitch in Conquer.
You only had like 2 or 3 games last year. We're going to do it to all of them. Everything's going to suck.
Guys, it's almost the end of the year. Release everything bad right now.
Well, think how panicking some of those devs must have been, because like they knew their games weren't ready and they're watching Battlefield 4 crash and burn. They're like, guys, can we please delay? Please. And the publisher's like, nope, full steam ahead. And they're like, it's going to be the exact same situation. And they're like, we don't care. And then Watch Dogs.
That's where a lot of my anger came from, because like everything that's going on within the gaming industry as far as these AAA releases goes completely against my fiber, like every fucking part of my being and everything that I stand for and that I hold near and dear and put a lot of value into, and a lot of that is quality in what you do, you know, actually putting in the effort and having pride in what you put your name to. And, you know, to see DICE, who's supposed to be, you know, this fucking wonderful developer, come in and drop that steamy pile of shit they call Battlefield 4 in our lap, be like, greatest game ever, guys, gonna take over the esports world. And be like, no, really? And then you question them at it, and everyone's like, no, dude, Snoov, come on, man, you're being a fucking hater. Like, what's wrong with this game? Like, are you fucking blind? Like, look at it. It's bad. But to give them credit, I mean, it's come a... I
that extra year of development the extra year of development finished the game. It's a shame that development had to happen after the game had already been released. If you just think of it like it was in full price early access for a year, it's not so bad. In that case, they finished it way quicker than DayZ, you know?
Right. But to put it in another perspective, we had to wait a full year after the game was released to get their next gen title, to get their newest title on their next generation game engine to be as good as their previous game under the same title on a previous game engine. And that's fucking sad. Yeah. But, you know, a lot of people are fanboy apologists looking at you, Dave. And they're like,
I am what I am, man.
You know, and they just kind of write it off. They're like, no, dude, it's, you know, this is like
DICE, address the check to Dave. And I said too, because it's not just limited to like super AAA FPS games either. I was joking
they're
with
the
Joel.
bulk of it. They're the bulk of it.
Well, but I mean, it's becoming like a pandemic. Joel and I went back to Rome 2, Total War, to record an episode a few weeks back, and I was joking. I'm like, Joel, it's that time of year, man. Like, the Rome 2 Emperor Edition, hey, we finished the game, 1 year patch just came out, right in time for the Battlefield 4 fall patch. Like, everybody's finishing their games this year. This is exciting times to be a PC gamer. I mean, even RTS
games just don't last as long as they used to.
Well,
too.
some do, but a lot of them are just kind of churned and dumped out and moved on. But now, so Snoov, that must have been more frustrating for you because, like, it looks like Shusty Bang kind of cut their teeth on weapon reviews, right? Like, that was a huge part of you guys' growth, was, or not just weapon reviews, but like guides on how to play the Battlefield series seem to be a huge part of you guys' channel. So how frustrating must it have been knowing that, like, hey, this is like a crappier version of the previous game and there's 800 weapons in it. Like, I'm guessing that wasn't a really good time.
Yeah, you know, the game not being enjoyable really didn't have that. Well, sorry, actually not. I don't know how I want to word this, because first and foremost, everything I've ever done for the channel, like everything Chris and I did for the channel, was just based off of like what we found was fun. Right. And like that was the whole premise of it. Just like whatever we found fun, and like what we cut our teeth on to really kind of get the channel blowing up was the weapon reviews. And it all came about of like everything we did was not so much just to help others, but it was to help ourselves as well. Like as we were learning things and picking things up, we're like, oh, well, maybe other people would find that helpful. And that's kind of where the idea for the weapon reviews came from. And everything we did, we enjoyed the game behind that. Like the love and the passion, the enjoyment for the game drove all the content. And then as the game just started to suck, like, yeah, I saw that. I was like, there's so much potential where all these weapon reviews, never mind the other stuff, but the weapon reviews for Battlefield 4 would have been great because there were so many guns. But aside from the game not being fun enough to really want to pursue them like we had for Battlefield 3, what we did in Battlefield 3 was relatively unique. I mean, we started those reviews at the same time Level Cap did. I think he started his a week before. Chris and I were working on like the templates and the overall like idea for what we wanted to for 2 months. Like as Battlefield 3 was getting ready to release, it was an idea we had. We're like, oh, dude. So we started putting it all together and stuff, and then it just happened to work. And then Battlefield 4 came around, and everyone saw the massive success that we had, and especially Level Cap, although he definitely got a lot of help from being featured on Pwn Star channel, Pwn Star for Hire's channel. Fucking everybody jumped on that bandwagon of Battlefield 4. And then, you know, now it was so much like, yeah, it's still kind of fun, but now it's not our thing. Like, now we're just kind of trying to share the pie with everybody else. It just doesn't feel special to us anymore. So I just lost interest in it. I did bring it back actually like 2 weeks ago. I had another idea. I was just thinking about it. An idea came to me. I was like, oh, wait a minute, that'll work. That could make it unique again, and that makes it more interesting for me. And I just redubbed it 1 minute weapon reviews. And the idea behind that was it works for Battlefield 4. It actually works really well, because it gets like the very bare bones stats that people want to hear about. You can just say which gun it's a reskin of, and then you can just link them to that review. Pretty much. And it's great because no one's fucking has that. Like I searched YouTube, searched everywhere. There's no such series called 1 minute weapon reviews. It's my series. It's 100% unique to me. So like the beauty of it is it's not married to any one single game. So I can take it elsewhere, but I feel like now I'm getting off track. Anyway,
there's no track on this podcast. We don't even pretend there's a track. We just meander from screaming fight to screaming fight normally, and then we end.
Did someone say Apple?
But yeah, and I think it was cool. Like, and then I think you just really just did streaming for a while. Like, right? You weren't putting out many YouTube videos or as many. You were just mostly like just screwing around on Twitch, hanging out with people, playing games, and starting to enjoy it again. Yeah, and it kind of comes back to that, like, there wasn't anything that I was playing that made me want to talk about something. Like, that was a big thing. I could have created anything, but my heart and head weren't in it. There wasn't something that I was like, that's a really good point that I thought of that, holy shit, blows my mind. I want to share it with someone else. It was just a matter of, like, I'm just kind of trying to have fun, and I didn't feel like there was any way for me to adequately make content out of that I didn't feel like it was forced, so I just said, well, fuck, I'm not going to do it, because that's never really been my thing. And at any point, I didn't feel like I was having fun with it. I stopped. If you go back and look through the history of Shusty Bang, there's been breaks here and there where either Chris or myself or both at the same time have been like, not feeling it. And, there's like a month break of videos. But, this stretch just happened to be a lot worse because of the whole work thing being
Well, pain in my ass.
Well, and I understand what you were saying before about how like gaming's not your number one passion. You know, you have other things that like if you have to choose between them, you choose the other thing. I'm the exact same way. I love gaming, but I will always choose photography over gaming. I will always choose like spending time with some people over gaming. And so like during the busy times of the year, which I'm in right now, I'm lucky if I'm putting out the podcast and maybe one other video a week, just because like I don't feel passionate about that right now. Like there's some games I enjoy, but some of them I just want to enjoy for me and don't not feel like I need to be putting out content for them. And then others I'm just like, I feel like I've been in there's been a little bit of a vacuum of games that were really, really compelling this year that I really wanted to play and talk about. And this fall looks like it's turning that around some, thankfully, but I do at least enjoy it. And again, it's, you know, it's different. I can't pretend like it's the same thing for me at all because I have a much, much smaller channel. So honestly, I can just stop making videos for a while and like no one's complaining or threatening me or anything else. Like I can just go away. People are like,
No
okay.
death threats.
Yeah. But so I know it must have been a lot harder for you, but I'm glad you're enjoying it again. Because I think any of your videos I've ever seen, you always do have good things to say, and you can definitely tell when you're really enjoying something and when you're passionate about it. So I think it's awesome that you're enjoying it more. And is that what led to the start of Dawnbreaker? Would this be a good time to bring up Dawnbreaker?
Yeah, you know, the big thing has always been passion and fun, but the big thing was passion because I feel that people that are passionate about anything, you're gonna get, well, as long as they have at least, you know, an iota of common sense and can be subjective and constructive more than anything.
When you're saying a lot of words that have no place on the internet. Subjective.
But when you get people that are passionate about anything, I feel like you're gonna get the most knowledge about whatever it is that they're passionate about versus someone that's just, you know, paid to keep cutting out reviews and stuff. So the whole idea behind Dawnbreaker Gaming was trying to kind of put back some honesty and integrity back into it. So it's kind of funny because that whole thing was Zoe Quinn and then Anita Sarkeesian blew up, and I don't know where Anita Sarkeesian fills in, but for some reason people keep marrying the two of them together where I really don't think it matters. But the whole thing with Zoe Quinn came out, and then the whole Gamergate thing. The first big takeaway from that was a lack of integrity in gaming journalism. Before that, Jess and I were talking about it, and we are like, you know, what we really need is just kind of like a community-driven site where you don't have to worry about bullshit like first review or, you know, knee-jerk reaction first impressions. And that was the thing. It really originated from YouTube. You know, you see all these people that were, you know how much money can be made on YouTube, and they jumped onto the scene, and they're just putting out clickbait bullshit, trying to race to get the first videos out, and it's just shit content.
Yeah, they're paying $300 to get their new copy of Call of Duty mailed to them from Singapore like a day and a half early, so they could be the first one hitting like Prestige 10 or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Right, but then they're trying to give out a full game review telling you if you should buy it or not based off of what, like an hour and a half of gameplay?
Yeah, there were a lot of really positive Battlefield 4 reviews in the days leading up to its release. A lot of people cranking those out on YouTube.
Yeah, and I you know what? I feel bad for that because I was a part of the problem. But, I mean, like during the beta, it felt good.
It felt a lot better. Oh, yeah, the beta was a lot better.
Day one release, I was like, holy shit, this game is great. And then it all fucking went downhill from day two. And I didn't, like, it's one of those, at least I stuck true to whatever the narrative was in the game. I didn't try and pretend it was something else. Like, I said it as it was. And that's something that's important to me. I don't give a shit about someone trying to sell me a product or not. I just care about honesty. I just want honesty and transparency. If you're getting paid to review a game, I don't give a shit. Unless they're telling you to do something specific. Tell me what that specific something is, and I'll determine if I think that your review is swayed one way or the other. But I just want people to tell me the truth about a game. I don't care about the fact that maybe you have a degree in journalism and you've got this fucking fantastic oh, now this is going to be really ironically embarrassing. I can't think of the word for having a really good
vocabulary.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
You know what? Honestly, like, it's sad how often I've been doing that, and it's gotten so much worse since I've had my kid, and I completely attribute it to a lack of sleep over the past 2.5 years.
You're old, man. You're old.
Yeah, dude. It's just like randomly like, oh, what's that word you use? Oh, talk. Yeah. But you can go out and read these really great reviews where guys have fantastic vocabulary. They're using all these fucking fancy words, and they can dress up their sentences to sound really nice. But it's like, okay, well, yeah, it looks nice, but on the surface, but you dig deep and you realize these guys are paid to write this review on top of one, and two, they put like 5 hours in the game. I don't find any value in that. So Dawnbreaker Gaming is trying to compile all the members of the community that are interested in writing reviews. Like right now, it's just kind of like anyone's welcome to throw a review at me. And we've had a couple of reviews where people have never wrote a review before, but like there's one member on the board, his name's Eric, and he wrote a review for Portal. Never wrote any sort of review for a game before, ever. But man, that kid had passion for Portal. He fucking loved that game. And while his grammar and spelling were off quite a bit on the article, you could still see that the overall structure of his review, there was passion in it. The guy knew what he was talking about. He had a lot to say. He was covering it from all sides, the good and the bad. And that, to me, is the kind of review that I think should be important in the community, because it offers everything you're looking for, and more so than anything, it's got honesty behind it. So I just want to keep getting people like that in and write reviews, and I think a lot of people are going to find that really beneficial in the long run. And anyone can get your thoughts dressed up with proper grammar and spelling and whatnot.
Yeah,
But
I liked what you said about, if it's so hard to be first. I mean, with YouTube, you can't really be first because there's 500 people in line ahead of you. So if you're not going to be first, you might as well be good. Like, be last if you need to,
Right.
but be good. So when people actually enjoy your content, and maybe they'll come to you first next time because they trusted what you had to say and not the fact that you were just trying to trick them into clicking on your video to make you watch an ad. I mean, it's kind of sad that's like the majority of video gaming on YouTube, it seems like now, is...
Oh, the clickbait thumbnails. That's my personal beef. Like,
Dude.
I put some thought into my thumbnails. Like, I actually really enjoy making a good thumbnail. Like, a nicely designed, but, like, interesting thumbnail.
It's a good
And
graphic design problem. You got to communicate a couple interesting factoids, and you have to do it in a very, very small space that has to be viewed on a variety of devices. Like, there's a lot of fun to it. Or you can, put boobs and weed in the thumbnail. That also works.
Actually, I'm laughing because Joel walked up behind me a few days ago when I was working on a thumbnail, and he's like, wow, you should really add some more stroke to that text. I was like, no, you don't understand. Let me zoom it out to like 15%. This is what you're going to be looking at. So it's like, yes, this looks horrific at 100% in Photoshop.
And you can't make two different images for big and small, right?
No. Not on YouTube. Maybe the really fancy channels can. I don't know. I certainly can't.
no, I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like that's one of those features they'll probably add at some point as they make YouTube more responsive. But that's certainly not something you can do now. But
4K is the future. Need bigger thumbnails.
Dude, I wish I could take credit for the fanciness of my thumbnails, but shout out to Mad Ace. I have fucking like zero artistic capability when it comes to thumbnails. Like, I can't even express what I want. So when I ask for like an intro or thumbnail, they're like, people are like, what do you want? I'm like, can you just make something and I'll tell you if I like it or not? And like, once something's on paper,
I know
can
it when I
offer
see
a lot
it.
of constructive criticism.
You're one of those people. Oh, no.
No, I can't. It's like when Fake Thule and I had the channel, when he was like, I think we need a new thumbnail. I'm like, all right, go for it. He'd be like, well, what do you want? I'm like, dude, fucking make something. I don't care. I'm very easygoing, and there's a very broad range of what I like. So chances are you're gonna make something I like. Just do it.
Well, that's not something you're passionate about. So while Dave and I can get passionate about it, we're also graphic designers in the real world. So like we should be passionate about it. But you're like, the
Graphic
video,
designers.
Joel, all right, Joel.
10 feet away from me, I will cut you.
I do enjoy like graphic design stuff, and it's one of the things I wish I could do because I have a lot of ideas in my head that
All you need
I
is
just
Photoshop,
can't
man.
put
That's all you need.
down. I can't do it. I mean, I even took a Photoshop class in college for an extra credit, and I was like, this is gonna be great. And I couldn't fucking figure out how to get what I have up here translated onto paper.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Is everyone like, well, that's because people are creative, and there's that big gap between what you can think about. Like, I really do think almost everyone's creative in some way, but there's a giant gap between what you can visualize and what you can actually make happen. And I think the people who are renowned as being great artists, it's not that they are so much more creative than other people. It's that they are much better, or they have developed the skill to be able to put down what they see in their head, into something tangible that you can touch. And like, I think, well, there goes Dave again. Nope, he's back. You can be so you can be creative and you can be really good at communicating that creativity in one area and then totally suck at doing it in another. So I think it just, at that point, it just matters like how much time do you have to devote to this one particular thing that you want to be able to communicate with. Like, I might be really great at, or decently okay. I might be, yes, at being large. I might be decently okay at doing graphic design and communicating stuff through there, but like I never was able to pick it up through music. I was always a competent musician and nothing more. And I know people who like played for a quarter of the amount of time that I played and would blow me away just because they were so much better at translating what they felt and what they were creating in their mind into something you could hear. And I'm just, strumming 4-chord songs. So, yeah, but I think at some part you do have to be creative in that particular area, and then other parts you just have to put in the work to figure out how to make it happen. But I don't know.
I think it's the engineer side of me, because like I use SolidWorks. Well, not anymore because I can't get into it. There's always so much about work I'm willing to talk about just because I'm paranoid. But in my previous position where I currently work, I used to use SolidWorks every day, so I do a lot of 3D design. And I fucking love that because that's one of the only things where I visualize something in my head and I can actually create like a perfect 3D model of what it is I envision. And that, incidentally enough, all came from a passion for freestyle BMX. Like I spent the majority of my life riding my bike. And that's the whole reason I got in my career path, because my ultimate goal is to start a bike company. But by the time I got around to college, there was already an overabundance of BMX companies out there, and there was...
I'm guessing this is early 2000s?
Yep.
Sounds about the right time for an overabundance of BMX, yep.
Yep, it was 2003 when I graduated high school, and by that point there was like... I was hitting college at the very end of like the design revolution in BMX. Everything had already gone lighter and stronger and just actually fucking engineered and designed. So by the time I got to college, it's like, well, fuck. I don't know what to do now.
But you became an engineer in general, so that, whatever the next revolution is, you could be in on that one, even if you missed BMX or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm
a builder. I like building things, and I like, visualizing ideas and bringing them to fruition. Like, if I could actually build, like, a nice little woodworking shop in my house, I'd fucking do that in a heartbeat.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
I mean, the desk I'm using now, I designed and built myself. I had a nice little, like, 2-tiered desk with a shelf built into it and everything for when I had my console set up, when we were used to bang console heroes back in the day. But, yeah, like, that's the kind of stuff I really enjoy. I just like building things.
Cool. Yeah,
I've derailed this.
No, really. There's no rail. Woodworking's one of those things like I've always wanted to do. Then every time I like touch a chisel and something, I'm like taking pieces off my hands and just breaking things. Like my hands are just they don't got it. But I have a lot of respect for people who do woodworking because you see just crazy stuff. My father-in-law got a lathe at an estate sale. Like a super nice lathe for like dirt cheap, like $50 or something for this lathe and all of its attachments and everything. And so once he got it up running, like he just stuck wood on the lathe. We were just like playing with it, just touching it with sandpaper stuff because we don't know what we're doing. But it's like, man, it just felt the whole time feel like, man, somebody knows what they're doing. I bet they'd be doing crazy stuff on this, but I'm just going to drag grooves in the side of it. Like the one time I tried the whatever clay spinning. What is it? We get the thing of clay, spins on the thing, and
pottery.
Yeah, well, for me, it was just make a tall pole, make a fatter, shorter pole, make a tall pole.
But your big hands is like can't. It's just like too
basically
hard.
That's basically what it is. It was too hard for me. You're right. All right. Well,
Since I've been listening for the last 4.5 hours, I wanted to mention something. I feel like. You guys remember when games were fun?
Oh my gosh!
I'm just serious. I'm like, I feel like the more we do this podcast, the more news is just depressing all the time. I'm serious. I'm like,
Joel's officially becoming old.
Can we have a happy cast?
No, we have plenty of happy things to talk about, Joel.
No, but I just want a full happy cast. I want to like get. Right. We should have a crap cast and the happy cast. And the crap cast is just pooping on all the bad news, and the happy cast it's separate. All right, it's away from
Joel,
that. It's
next week. Next week, we already have the title for next week's episode. Next week is the happy cast, only fun news. Okay, and no one in chat. You can't say anything that will hurt Joel's little feelings. Only positive things. Only smiles.
So no DayZ news.
Only hugs. Okay.
Everyone send warm feelings towards Joel.
All right, guys, email into casualshenanigans@gmail.com and send us ideas of happy things we can talk about for next week for the happy cast, which is totally happening. But now
I don't think my memory goes back far enough to remember the happy times in gaming. You know, where the
Ooh.
majority of things were good to talk about.
I remember the happy times. I didn't have internet access, so I bought a
Yeah.
game, played it for a year, and thought it was the best thing ever. I was
I
also
know,
11.
exactly.
I was 11. I thought a lot of things were amazing.
I actually made it. I tweeted about something earlier today. One of the things I miss thinking about happy times in gaming: Twisted Metal 2. Has anyone
Yeah.
played that
Oh,
on
yeah.
PlayStation?
Oh yeah.
Dude, why the fuck did they make a game like that? Twisted Metal 2 is the shit. It was like it was a great progression from Twisted Metal 1. Here we go. We're gonna happy times now. We're gonna talk about a fucking great game in gaming history.
All right. Twisted Metal. Let's do it. A happy game full of happiness.
It was a unique racer game, but it was still, it was PvP, or it could have been. I played, locally against, or
Right.
multiplayer. But am I retarded tonight? I think I am. Anyway, it was a good game. I loved it. It was like dark and gritty, but the controls still felt nice and fluid and smooth. Like everything worked great. I hated what they did with it from like Twisted Metal 3 and on because they took it to like a more arcadey look. But it was something I thought about today because one of the talks we had in the GameSpeak earlier this week was thoughts on remaking old games. And Twisted Metal 2, I think, would be an ideal candidate if they were to make it like that, less arcadey and a little bit more of that raw, nitty gritty style. Man, I would pay a shit ton of money to be able to play that game again.
Yeah, I think Joel's brought this up before. How much would you pay to be able to forget a game and go back and experience it for the first time? Like, just to have that seminal moment where you're like, well, life is never the same now. I mean, of course, when you're younger, that's a little easier to say because...
I take back Battlefield 4.
But
trade that in.
Get to play it again.
I was gonna say, but that's the whole point. You got to replay it again. You go replay
Yeah.
that, you be like, "Fuck!"
No, Joel, you
replay
said
No,
you
I'm
wanted
saying
to-
sorry. I would trade in Battlefield 4 for the game that I
Oh,
want to
okay,
replay.
so Fallout 3.
right.
Fallout 3 was your
that
game,
wasn't very
wouldn't it?
clear. Yeah, of course it'd be Half-Life 2 and Fallout 3. Oh man, now I'm just
Over and
thinking
over
about
again,
it.
Never
right,
played
Joel?
Half-Life.
You ever played Half-Life 2?
What?
Man.
It's kind of
Get
like
off the podcast and go play.
I feel like saying I've never played Half-Life is the equivalent of being a movie fanatic and saying I've never watched Godfather, which, by the way, I've never watched that either. But,
It's not as good as a lot of people say.
So hard.
I never had a chance. I didn't get a PC to get game on until about 2 years ago, so there's a lot of catching up I have to do.
Yeah,
Console
and
peasant for
that's
almost my entire
acceptable.
life.
That's like you wouldn't have played Half-Life 2 unless you happened to buy the orange box for some reason, or you happen to be into PC gaming like in the mid 2000s.
Or you just happen to be in any gaming and hear about the game. No, that's totally moot. If you're into gaming, you've heard of the Half-Life 2, and you're just like, just not getting around to it.
Well, there's a lot of games. I mean, there's tons of games I'll never play. I'm sure they're amazing. People talk about how amazing they are.
like Dave not playing
Just
Mass
like Dave
Effect.
not playing the Mass Effect series. Like you try to tell him, but you don't
What a
understand
fool
what
you
you're
are.
missing. And Dave's like, I have a good quality of life. I'm a happy
I
man.
play a lot of games like DayZ, and then ARMA 3.
That's true. You could
if I
carve
play Mass
off.
Hours.
You could carve off 5% of your DayZ time to go play Mass
Still
Effect.
have 17 hours in the week.
Or 2% of my Arma 3 editor time. A lot of things in my life would improve.
Speaking of time sinks, I'm going to transition this into the news. All happy things in the news.
It's a
Our
good
first
week.
news item is, I believe, Joel's. Just Cause 3 has been announced.
mother effers. I'm so excited about this. I'm gonna leave you all behind and just play this game for so many hours.
What
I
about
played
Grand Theft
Just
Auto
Cause
5
2.
coming out?
What's that?
You're not
Well-
going to do that when Grand Theft Auto 5 comes out in like
Well, I'm gonna
5
play with
days?
you guys for a million hours in GTA 5, and then leave you guys to play from midnight to like 5 in the morning on Just Cause 3. No, that's coming. That'll be probably next year. But
Joel's
dude,
dead.
I'm so excited.
Spring 2015.
I was looking on the online Game Informer magazine, so I had a lot of images, and I read the whole article about it. They are just updating everything that I was actually hoping for in Just Cause 2. Like there was a stupid crouch mode in Just Cause 2 that didn't make any sense. Like they're getting rid of that. They're adding a ton more little wires you can attach to people. They're adding I think 3 or 4 of them that you can do in the game.
So they're
But
adding
then
everything that people added with mods into.
No, but they
Just
also
Cause
add
2.
good mechanics to it, not just tossing it in. You know?
all right,
They're
all
adding the ability to say you can attach 2 people and then remotely switch it so you can fling some dude really far, not just attach him, but you can actually just like a I don't know, like a bow and arrow, fling a guy or whatever. I don't know. It just looks awesome. They have a wingsuit in the game, a wingsuit, which is gonna be sweet.
Which is funny because like the falling in that game was in Just Cause 2 was already like so slow and controlled. Like I don't know if a wingsuit's going to make it that much better. but I mean,
I think it's gonna be pretty
fly
awesome.
Like a jet.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be sweet. But
the wingsuit was pretty amazing in Far Cry 3. I'll give them that.
And on a side note, it looks really good. Like it looks next gen.
Well,
the explosions.
I mean, Just Cause 2 looked amazing when it came out.
Yeah, Just Cause 2 had one of the best like pop-in levels or whatever it is, you know, like the textures, they just slowly morphed. It looks so good. I've never seen it any better than any other game.
Lads.
So I'm excited for the new one, but like they're making it, because remember the last one, like you'd go into any town and once you like started screwing around with stuff, people would just come forever for waves. Well, this one, it does end. Like you can destroy a town and they'll die, and then you can like take that town as yours and everything. So, and also missions, you don't have to restart back at another base. You start from where the mission is, and a lot of awesome things and everything. But yeah, I'm just excited. I've been waiting for that game for 3.5 years.
Kind of a surprise announcement too, because it's coming out in what, 6 months or so?
They didn't announce any release. Yeah, they didn't announce it. Okay. So my guess is they're going to show it off at E3.
Fall 2015, then it gets delayed to spring 2016, and release is partially broken.
I'm going to guess fall. Or
well,
right
how
after
long has
E3.
it been in development? Because Just Cause 2 came out in 2010.
Yeah, I mean,
so it could have been in development for like 3 years already now.
Yeah, it could be because done, and they did something smart and waited until they had like an actual game ready to go before they said, "Hey guys, we got this thing coming out," which I think is the way to do it. I would rather not hear about something until it's like ready to go, so I can just be excited instead of getting excited for months and months and months, and then inevitably being disappointed when it releases and isn't everything we were promised. Just saying. Our next news item: Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which Joel also. This is Joel's item that he wants to talk about. So Joel, you can't complain about the depressing news stories. You're putting these ones in. So, but you're happy.
I'm not
you're
talking
happy
about.
this.
I wasn't talking about just news story. I was just talking about podcasts in general.
Everything has to be happy next week.
Okay, it's all gonna be happy.
Everything will be happy.
Next week. There'll be nothing but sadness. Like we're just gonna make it up.
Gabe dies.
That
was real sadness you just experienced right there, Joel.
James was telling me that Bono almost died today, or today or yesterday. He was in his jet. One of the tail like it came off. One of the like wings or whatever like literally came off.
Dang.
They landed okay, but I was like, it was just him only. So it wasn't like an entire group. So it was just been him. I'm like,
that pilot's getting a bonus this year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
Plane without tail.
No, I picked up Advanced Warfare. I look forward to it every year. I enjoy campaign because I enjoy games still. I just enjoy the single player.
I feel like Joel's biting at us when he says things like, "I enjoy games still." and then you yell at Dave, "How can you enjoy DayZ? It's so stupid." And Dave's like, this makes me happy." And you're like, "You're wrong. You're just wrong. My feelings are superior."
Well, it's because I have the controller, so I can feel the game. You guys can't feel its heartbeat. So no, it's awesome. It's really good. I wish I had friends who played it with me so we can enjoy other games than ARMA 3 and DayZ.
I would like to play more games with you, Joel, but you're buying $60 games like every single week, and I'm like, sorry, not making money.
Every single week? What was the last one before that?
Alien Isolation.
That wasn't every single week.
Hold on.
When did Aliens come out?
Well, I don't remember, Joel.
Shadows of Mordor.
You have Shadow of Mordor, Alien Isolation, your Oculus Rift.
That was someone saying it for a while.
Advanced Warfare. What was the last one before that?
Okay, I guess you got it right.
Assassin's Creed.
Shut your mouth.
Did you play Assassin's Creed yet, Joel? Or did you actually wait?
That's actually on my news.
Don't do it.
I got it, Joel. If you want it, play. I got it for free with my graphics card. If you want to play it, just log into my Uplay account and try it.
I downloaded it and I'm just looking at it. I'm like, I have no urge to like press the play button at all.
You're not even gonna try it? What the heck?
Did you hear Total Biscuit's review today?
I did not.
All right, quick backstory. His PC is a beast. He's got SLI 980s.
Of course he does.
At full 1080p. Not even like the Ultra HD. I guess there's like another higher setting that he can't play at. But on Ultra settings, basically like the second highest settings with his fucking dual 980s, he cannot hold a steady 60 frames per second in this game. The minimum required or recommended card for this game is a fucking 7970 or 670. That's absurd. That's a terrible PC port.
Yep. And that's why I enjoy console gaming. Thank you.
Okay.
Just saying.
Jeremiah, you got this.
I got this.
No. I know it doesn't work good. I know it doesn't work good. Shut your lips. I know it doesn't work good. It's not like you're surprising
Okay, so you're saying, like, this is why I enjoy console gaming, because it's also broke on that.
Well, I'm just saying most of the time. I'm sorry. Most of the time.
5 FPS in crowds
You're all right though. For,
in
for
Unity.
ports like that, console it's nice for
Ubisoft ports.
I'm saying most of the time, yay, I've got a $12,000 rig. Can barely play the game.
You can barely play the game on max settings. What you always ignore, Joel, is if you drop the settings down so it looks like a console, it plays much better than a console.
So play on high is so different, and you can and he's getting 60 frames a second though.
I'm not.
I would like to see that then.
I'm not arguing that, Joel. I think it's totally fine to drop the visual settings down so it runs smoother. Dave
I agree
is the
but
one.
I'm just saying that
Dave is the one who will
just
just buy more graphics cards because he has to have 60, and that's a personal problem he deals with, and that's okay.
No,
I'm just saying.
An unapologetic lover of both VSynced 60 FPS and hitting that drop down and scrolling all the way down to where it says Ultra. I bought my 970 2 weeks ago. It took almost 2 weeks to get here thanks to UPS SurePost. And I was benchmarking it. I'm like, man, this like almost matches my 680 SLI that I just sold. And then I went to Slick Deals and I re-added an alert for 970 back. Where it's going to email me if one goes on sale again.
Wait, so you're already looking for a second one?
I mean, I had the alert set up just in case one goes on sale. You never know. Black Friday is coming up.
Maybe you can get the refurbed version of mine. So, podcast listeners, let me take you on a little story. So, I bought a 970. Dave sweet talked me into it. There was a good deal. I'll give you that. It was a good deal.
I sent you a text, and then you replied with, Dave, I did. That's what you sent me.
Right, but it was a good deal, and we talked about it enough. There was context. So I got, and I have an R9 290, so I knew I wasn't I wasn't going to get a lot of performance back. I knew that. But my 290 is very loud and it's very warm, and sometimes I don't like to sweat for a several-hour gaming session, like with the window cracked open and a fan running. Sometimes that's not fun. So I was like, okay, I'll get it. It won't really perform any better, but it will be quieter and everything else. And I got it, and everything was great. And then today I was like, hey, I'm going to test out settings because, I struggle. My computer cannot keep up with cranking out a steady 30 FPS for the podcast. For whatever reason, like it's too swamped. It can't do it. Although tonight, interestingly, my CPU is staying at 40% usage, and I still can't get above 15 frames per second in OBS. So I don't know. But earlier I was testing out using Shadowplay and Open Broadcaster to record, and I was doing the Blu-ray preset, and people in the Twitch chat were saying that like it looked absolutely flawless. It was working amazingly. Like it looked so good. No visible artifacting. And then my computer blue screened, and it would not post with the 970 in it. So I had to take the 970 out and go back to my R9 290, and my 970 is currently in a box waiting to get RMA'd. And that will be the first video card that's ever died on me. Normally video cards are pretty rock solid, but yeah. So far my 970 experience has been wonderful. I was playing around with that dynamic
for 2 days.
super resolution thing though, where it upscales the game to 4K and then plays it on a 1080p screen. And that worked really well. I did not have any frame rate drop. I was still playing Dark Souls 2. That's the game I tried. I was playing that at 60 FPS, technically at 4K, downsampled, and it looked really, really awesome. So, Dave, how are you enjoying your 970?
Yeah, I was going to say that for the upsampling with the resolution, that's a great way because you can turn anti-aliasing off in some cases, do like a 4K render per frame, and then when it downscales it, like the image gets so nice and soft, you lose almost all those jaggies in the downsampling. It can look really, really good. Like DayZ and ARMA 3 look twice as good when you upsample to like 1440 or 4K. Mm-hmm. Like I said though, my 970 spent 8 or 9 business days in transit. Newegg Super Saver shipping used to be like still just 4 or 5 business days. Not anymore. It's awful now, and it still cost me $6 too for the Super Saver shipping. So I just got it yesterday, and it just has a very mild overclock right now. I will say that with the window in my case, that second slot looks awfully empty down there where my 680 SLI was through yesterday. But benchmarking wise, my 3D Mark score for the 680 SLI was around 16,000 or so. And with the stock clock 970, it was like 13,500, just stock clock. So that's coming very close to matching. And it was the graphics benchmarks that it was lagging behind in. And of course, when you're benchmarking, it's assuming 100% SLI efficiency, which for most of the games that I play is not the case. I really only lost frames in Battlefield 4, which Frostbite is a great game for SLI. Their efficiency has always been like between 80 and 95% efficiency for SLI. So this card, I had to drop, I think, Shadows and Terrain down to high instead of Ultra. I'm doing 2x AA instead of 4. And now I can keep 60 V-synced with this card. But with the overclock, I can probably hit full Ultra settings. But in most real-world cases, the 970 either matches or beats the two 680s. So I'm very happy so far. And with the price I paid for it, and with what I got from my 680 SLI that I've already sold, the last one behind me is going out tomorrow. I actually have extra money that I earned back to put towards a second card.
Cool.
It was definitely a good deal.
Cool.
And you know me, I'm already thinking about it.
All right, next thing. Joel, I think this is probably also your news item. Polygon retroactively lowered the Halo Master Chief Collection score from 9.5 to 8.0, citing multiplayer issues as the reason. Is that
This
you?
is actually my story.
It is.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
don't
what
think I added
happened?
that.
What happened?
Yeah, the Halo Master Chief Collection came out this week, obviously, and initial reviews were excellent. I mean, it's Halo, and it's updated, 60 FPS, right? I think for most of them.
Mm-hmm.
Updated textures. I mean, it's a reboot. It's a collection, and it's a series that everybody loves. But from what I've been hearing on Twitter, especially, the multiplayer is between frustrating and non-functioning, and it has been for days. And it's gotten so bad that a lot of sites are now going back and dropping scores, in this case on Polygon, from 9.5
Which
to
is
8.
very rare. That's very, I wouldn't say unprecedented,
Yeah.
but it's very uncommon.
Because it's been days now, and even the reviewers who are hearing all this are going like, is it really this bad? And they went back and tried it, and they're like, yeah. Like, since the game actually launched, because they were probably playing in, I would imagine, like press servers in the days before launch, they're going, yeah, this is a very real problem. But what I found interesting was there was a discussion on Reddit about Metacritic score for this collection, and the problem is that Metacritic only allows the initial score to be saved. So from Polygon, their 9.5 score will remain on Metacritic as their score for the game forever. They can't change that. And if you ask me, that's definitely incentive for developers to maybe not be deceptive, but try to, paint over any issues, at least for that launch window, and get those reviews.
And we're
going
to talk about that when we get to the potato patch. Very briefly, Monument Valley bombarded with 1-star reviews after offering DLC. Who is that? Whose story is that?
That's actually me again. And Joel, I think you and I have talked about this some, about kind of the strange pricing that goes on with mobile games, right?
Yeah.
And kind of how it, in a lot of cases,
I just think
developers
just the culture right now is just so freaking messed up.
And I've only had a smartphone for like 6 months now, and I still only have a few games for it that I got through Humble Bundle, so I'm not really plugged into smartphone and mobile games at all. But reading this article here, Monument Valley is apparently a very awesome game, like beautiful art style, and the reviews were excellent. And it looks like the developers genuinely worked hard on it. They had a unique concept, and that it is actually a good game, and it costs $4. Now for mobile, that's actually kind of high. For me, that's even low for like a Steam sale. That's a pretty cheap game. Well, the developers just came out with DLC for it, and it is an actual basically mobile expansion pack. It's like new levels, new features. It's not like you're unlocking skins or music or stuff like that. Yeah. It's an actual expansion to the game. And people who had already bought the original game were so angry that they had to pay for the expansion pack, which was it was $2 on top of the original $4 for the game.
Oh, unacceptable.
Legions of the original purchasers of the game went back and started changing all their reviews to 1 stars. I mean, like tons and tons of them, until the developer actually tweeted this. It said, it seems quite a few people have gone back and 1-star reviewed Monument Valley upon update because the expansion was paid. This makes us sad. And I'm like, it's just a very blunt tweet, and I imagine that's not a marketing thing. That's probably a very true feeling that they're having, where they've worked hard on this additional content, put it up at a reasonable price, I'd assume. And then their original fans are turning against them for this just because of the, what's the word? Just the environment of mobile gaming. And that's a real shame to say, or to see. Now, the one kind of upside to this story is that once the story broke about all the 1-star reviews, there's now been a rush of people re-reviewing the game again or buying new copies and giving it 5-star reviews. So it's kind of going back and forth. But the fact that it's an issue at all is a little ridiculous, if you ask me. It's sad to see.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest that like even things with Humble Bundle, like I love stuff like that, but honestly, that and the really low Steam sales, I think are really, really re-educating people that things are worth nothing. Now, like I think for some people that are smart, you know what I mean, they I guess have brains in their freaking heads. They go, hey, this is an awesome deal. We're getting a really good deal, but that game is still worth a good amount of money. You know what I mean? But it's like it's once over $3. What the heck? But this other game was free. Why isn't this game free? Man, I hate this generation. It's just freaking messed up, man. It really is.
Joel, you sound so old right now. I'm not gonna throw that out there.
I've been this since I was a kid, though. Like I've hated the fact that
still
like
old.
the way with technology goes is I mean we get used to Facebook. You get used to, hey, look guys, I posted something. Oh, no one liked it. No one commented back to say I'm good. I'm awesome. It's like if they expect that, you get that 5 times in a row. They want that cookie the 6th time. And this is just really educating people that things are worth nothing.
I don't think they're educating they're worth nothing. They're educating people or they're teaching people that you don't have to pay $60 for every single game you want to play, and sometimes things are worth $5, or sometimes there's a $10 game, or sometimes there's a 99-cent ad-supported game.
Yeah, I think mobile's a different environment though, where it's gone like
it's pushing into the other market though.
It went so far so quickly with mobile games. I think that they never really like established what they should be. The 99-cent stuff just started and stuck.
But I mean, mobile is affecting our gaming industry.
Yeah, I believe it.
Well, I mean, like with all the
it's the same gaming industry, man. It
is. Yeah, like people think it's different, but no, it's the exact same. There's no difference. Like it's just playing on a smaller screen in a different type of culture, but that culture is now coming to ours. And I hate it every year. It gets worse and worse, and it's embarrassing and sad because I'm like, oh, I want to play a game. What? I have to download this app, then I got to install this thing. I got to buy coins for some stuff.
Joel,
buy the game.
Just for me, can you say get off my lawn? Just for me.
Get off my lawn.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
No, it's just
we're going to transition from that straight into Assassin's Creed Unity because I feel like this could be set up.
I have one last little good piece.
I know, but we'll come back to it because it just feels like the perfect way to segue into this. So Assassin's Creed Unity, it's now time.
You have to. It's
now time for the potato patch.
There it is.
The part of the podcast where we talk about what's going on in the grand old world of console gaming. And this week, the potato patch shares this hallowed time segment with the Singularity Shame segment, which is the segment of the podcast named in honor of Singularity 80 in chat. Where we highlight something that really needs to be smacked in the face, and we have very, very tiny amount of power on this podcast, but we do what we can to highlight truly scummy behavior on the internet. And Assassin's Creed Unity is winning all of the contests this week. So I'm just going to run down my favorite stupid things about the game. Not only is it apparently the worst performing Assassin's Creed of all time, console players are reporting constant game crashes, drops to 5 FPS in the middle of cities, all kinds of things that are, not what you would expect from the next gen of gaming, and certainly don't reflect what we've seen from the game up until release. The microtransactions will let you buy things to make the game work better. And you can buy those, they're things you would unlock normally, and you can buy them even like in the early stages of the game. Instead of going like finishing areas and unlocking stuff, you can just buy things immediately with real world money from a store that was not online when reviewers were accessing it, so they couldn't check out prices or anything ahead of time. And there are this isn't like 99-cent DLC either. There are tons of pieces of DLC you can buy. The top one, I believe, is $100.
Yep.
This is on a $60 AAA game release, so it runs terribly, and it has lots of paid content you can access. It runs bad on the PC. It runs bad on the consoles. Everyone can get together and just agree it runs terribly. There's no need, you can't even fanboy about this. It's just a terrible experience across the board.
And you supposedly have to use a app to do some part in the game.
Yeah, you have to get an app on your phone
to unlock loot crates. Joel, is what I heard. It's a certain loot you have to download and install the app, sync it with the game, and use it to unlock your loot.
I feel bad for some of the developers that are in there that are probably like, gosh, this is so bad, man. And the people up ahead are like, add this app.
Well, yeah, most of the people working on it are very talented.
QR codes all over again.
The Assassin's Creed games have pretty much always been well-made games. just with some extra issues. Like Battlefield 4 probably was going to be a really great game at some point, and then too many decisions start getting made, and too many stupid ideas make it into the final mix, and things go downhill.
Too many guns get added to the mix.
Did anyone of you guys download the GTA 5 app?
No.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, did you even know there was one?
Yes, I'd heard about it, but
You showed it to me, yeah.
I had no interest. I just played the game, and then I was done, and that was it.
Oh, okay.
So what could you do?
I put a game in, I play it, then I'm done. Whatever, it's just a game. You sound like, I don't
No,
really
I'm saying
like
I played
games
the game and I was
games.
done. I didn't play it for months and months and months like a lot of people did. So the app didn't really appeal to me.
No, well, anyways, the app was extra. It was like, hey, do you want to actually make your own license plate? So I had my own license plate with my name on it, which was kind of cool. And there's a few little things that you didn't feel like you were missing out if you didn't use
Thankfully,
it, but it was kind of fun.
The PC version has keyboard support.
What's that?
I said, thankfully, the PC version is going to have keyboard support, so you don't have to use an app to make a license plate.
Well, I think it still actually connects to the app because it's all about walking or you interact with a dog on it too. So it's kind of like when you're away from the game, you can feed the dog and it will do things for you and you can click money, whatever. It was kind of interesting, but I was just saying it's not like you get to a part, I want to get in a car. Oh, gotta pull an app out, gotta put a key in. I'm like, oh man, just
Joel, what if GTA 5 came with a required app that had a car breaking into mini game you had to play? It was like a puzzle you had to solve.
You gotta hook up the Wii remote to it and you gotta turn the knob, open it.
And then if you did it wrong, your phone starts playing phone siren noises, in public places and stuff. It'd be great. All right, and so now we can circle back around to GTA Online. Joel, was this your news item?
Yeah, the GTA Online heists are coming out the week following the PS4 release.
And is that confirmed?
Release. That's what they said. It was official. I mean, so we'll see if it will come out by then. But I mean, they've had quite a while to get it, work on it.
A year.
Since they missed it 7 months ago. But hey, you know what? At least they're gonna release it. And it's gonna be good rather than it's gonna be really crappy and probably have microtransactions. But yeah, but that's exciting. But the other thing I was reading, they were talking about the PS4 controller. It's emotion time. They're adding in the new version now. They're adding, and this is I think I don't know if you have a PS4 controller for the PC, it'd probably work. But you can listen to police radio specifically on the controller. So it's kind of like you're driving a car and you can listen to police calling out stuff. And I was like, Dave would like that.
Dude,
and
I would love that.
The remote kind of flashes red and blue, if if you're in the cop car or whatever.
What?
Yeah. So I was like, that just kind of sounds like fun.
For PC on sale today. I'm really tempted now, actually.
But I was like, that's kind of cool. I was like, that's a cool idea. You get cell phone calls from people and stuff on it. But I'm that way you can be driving, you listen to the music coming from the speakers, but then you have your police radio if you hear any people doing suspicious activity and stuff. So
it works really well because the speaker in the controller sounds awful, so it's great for police radio.
I mean, it sounds amazing for a speaker that's a 1/16 of an inch across. It's really killing it, but. Okay, so it is now time for mail time.
Mail time.
Thank you, Joel. We have a reply to last week. Remember Cody from last week? He had $800 to $1,200, wanted to get a desktop for him and a laptop for his wife, or one laptop they could both use is okay with medium settings. And Joel recommended he get a laptop from Mac of All Trades, and we looked at that, and that was some pretty good deals on there. And then we said, hey, you could build a used parts PC, and that snowballed into something we're going to talk about after this. But so he wrote back to us, and he said, thanks for the advice, guys. I'll likely look at Mac of All Trades for my wife. That sounds right up her alley. As for myself, I'm completely fine with older/used parts. A picked parts list by you would be tremendous help. It would have to be completely from scratch. I have no keyboard, monitors, etc. I know that will hurt the performance budget a bit, but I do plan on upgrading in the future, so I'm really okay with mid-range right now. Anything else you need to know? And thanks again. So I assumed that we were going to build him a computer with monitor, everything, Windows, monitor, keyboard, mouse, everything, $800. That leaves him $400 to get his wife a laptop in good working order from Mac of All Trades and be, and hit his maximum budget. So we have a list that Yako sent in. I just saw Dave dropped in here. And I'm going to read off his list, and then I am going to tell you mine. So his recommendation is an Intel Pentium G32, and this is all brand new, by the way.
Oh, actually, sorry, Jeremiah. Edgar's suggestion was for our side project.
Never mind. You dropped it in the wrong place.
I did
so
drop
sorry.
it in the wrong place.
You did.
Yeah, don't recommend this computer for this guy, please.
I was wondering, but I was like, I trust you. I'm just going to keep reading. Okay, so let me bring up my list. 1 second. Okay, so there's a couple things you'll need to buy new. Or that you don't have to buy new, but you might as well buy them new because you're not really going to save a whole lot of money buying them used. I would get a Cooler Master Hyper 212 cooler. Good air cooler will let you overclock some. I would get 8 gigs of memory just because it's DDR3 and you don't really save a lot of money going used, so get it new. Hitachi Death Star 2 terabyte internal hard drive. On your budget, you can't get an SSD and still have any storage space. A Corsair 200R case. I think it's the best budget case there is. I love mine. I've used them in like 10 different builds at this point. They're awesome. Corsair CX 500 watt power supply. If you got that used, you'd probably be fine, but it's in there new. Cheap Asus DVD burner. Windows 8.1. An Acer 22-inch 1080p monitor, and a Cooler Master gaming keyboard and optical mouse. All that comes out to $530. Conspicuously, that's missing the motherboard, CPU, and GPU. Now, I'm going to suggest, Cody, that you buy these parts used, because used is where you can go a couple generations old and get 70% of the performance for 20% of the price. The parts I've picked out for you used, and I have links that I'm going to email to you, and if these exact parts aren't still available because it's eBay, let me know and I can help you find others. But the general idea is you're going to get an i5 750, which is a several generations old i5 quad-core processor, still an awesome processor, and you can buy it now on eBay for $60, and it can be overclocked. Then you'll also get a Foxconn LGA 1156 motherboard for $80 that can also support overclocking. Now, neither of these are going to be insanely amazing overclockers, but you're going to be able to get an extra 5-10% of free performance out of it, so why not? And then a Sapphire 7950 for $120. This is the exact same Radeon 7950 model that I used to have, and these things overclock like a beast. You can overclock this to be every bit as fast as a GTX 770, and it is $120 used on eBay. There's a very good chance it's been a Litecoiner card, but if it's lasted that long, it should probably last fine for you. If you prefer to go NVIDIA, you can get a GTX 660, which is just a little bit slower. You can get one of those for the same price. That puts your total at just right at $800. And you get a 1080p monitor, you get Windows 8, you get a quad core, and you get a pretty recent GPU. And obviously, you have to build it yourself. But I'm assuming you're comfortable with that because you asked us for a parts list. So I'm going to email all these links to you. Don't worry about trying to remember everything I just said. But that is my recommendation for what you do for this build. And if you need to go cheaper on any of that, let me know and we can trim it down a little bit. But that does fill out your maximum budget with you and your wife both getting computers. You will be able to play on much better than mid-range settings. You'll be able to play on high in most things. The only reason I didn't save you a little money on that is because really the only thing I would drop down would be the GPU, and I'd save you $40 and you'd cut your performance in half. I mean, when you're looking at used stuff at that point, like you're going to lose a whole lot for the money. So I would just stick with that. If possible. But yeah, that's the build. So as always, you can be a part of Mail Time by writing into casualshenanigans@gmail.com. Now, let's talk about our computer project. It came up at the end of the podcast last week. Joel, do you remember what you challenged me?
Yeah.
All right.
Do I remember?
All right. What is Joel's challenge?
Which argument was this?
What's Joel's challenge?
I remember all arguments. No, my challenge was, can you make specifically a gaming PC, to play games for $400 or less that will work and last as good as a PS4?
Mm-hmm.
Plays decently as a PS4.
And I said, I'm absolutely positive I can do that. And the rules we established were used parts were okay, but I have to build it for the price of a used PS4 to make things comparable. So we settled on $350 being a pretty fair price, correct?
Yeah.
And so I do not have to buy. I have to buy a keyboard and mouse.
Because you're taking out the price of like the controller, which is like $50.
Well, no, yeah. That's the price of used one. You said I had to include a mouse and keyboard in the price. I
you are including that?
I
Okay.
didn't have to include the operating system because Sony has to include that anyway. So that's not like Microsoft charges so much for their operating system because they're not selling you the hardware. So it's like it's two separate ecosystems. I have a spare copy of Windows 7 kicking around. And anything that I already owned, I would just find out the used price of it and add it to the budget, but I wouldn't actually have to buy it just to save on real world money. But but I still would have to add it to the budget. So Joel, I want you to understand going into this. I haven't looked at Edgar's build yet, Yako's build.
Yeah.
You're going to lose this challenge. You're going to lose it. Do you understand that?
And what do you mean Yako's build?
He sent a build in. He sent a parts list in. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm about to look at it right now. But just going off of my list.
Okay. I thought you were buying his used computer. I was like, okay.
No.
You know, buying a used computer.
No.
His computer has two 580s, an SLI, and an i7.
It's probably worth more than $350.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Joel,
I'm excited to see this PC run games way better.
Now
for the next couple years.
At least equal, and then most likely better. Okay.
Yeah, at least equal. And so we'll see how it goes for the next couple of years.
Okay. So, Dave, do you have anything to add before we proceed?
Just one note on how it's used. It's also going to be a streaming computer, right? For the
yes.
podcast?
I have the problem of I have a lowly quad core, unlike Dave and his 12 threads. My computer has a hard time recording everything needed for the podcast and streaming. I need to be the person streaming, though, because I have by far the best internet connection. So this would be, half of it would be something that we would visit on our channels on a pretty regular basis to compare, like, how well can old hardware run this new game or something. And then the other half of it would be actually doing the heavy lifting to stream the podcast, which we felt like is a pretty decent use of Patreon money. I'd also be kicking in money from my regular YouTube income, and then probably some of my own personal money because I really want this to happen.
But what I was going to say is, as far as the operating system goes, I think it's going to be important to maintain performance that we keep the installation at just what we need for streaming, so like OBS,
right,
and then just the games. Because a key part of obviously a console is a very stripped down, low to the hardware operating system. We can't quite match that just running Windows. So to try to make up for that, I think we should just keep it a very clean installation.
Mm-hmm.
So
so clean, I'm going to disable antivirus before our game. That's how clean it's going to be. I was thinking like it could be an air gap.
Antivirus?
Do I use antivirus? Yes, Dave, I do.
Like what? Like a Avast or?
Yeah, what do you use?
I use Microsoft Security Essentials. I've always been pretty happy with it.
There you go.
Like
I was worried about like McAfee or like
No.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck?
You're just giving performance away at that point.
Because all I use and have for years is Windows. Windows Firewall. I run Malwarebytes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then Security Essentials. I mean, it's just lightweight. Anyway, yeah, you worried me the way you said, like, I gotta turn off my antivirus for a game. And I was like, wait, what are you?
Gotta call some people.
The things I'm not going to include in this budget are a capture card for streaming, because that's not. Like, that'd be just for the podcast. For, gaming, streaming in general, Shadowplay can do that, and that's built into the video card. So, it can fulfill the same feature that a PS4 would have. But for the podcast, I'd have to add an additional card.
I guess you'll need that, but I guess that is going to be swaying, because you're not going to be able to. We won't be able to do. We can do gaming stuff, but for capturing, that's going to be different.
Well, no, I'd be able to do the same streaming that a PS4 could do. I'd be able to do out of the box for no additional money, and that's the Shadowplay streaming. For the podcast, I need to be able to mix 3 different audio feeds and a video feed, encode them, and upload
stuff.
Yeah, that's production stuff.
I know that. So you can't they can't be used for anything else, like just for graphic stuff. If you can use that, but no, that's
all right.
fine.
So here's my parts list, my proposed parts list.
You're really enjoying this.
I am so excited. And this was, Snoo, we're talking about ahead of time. This was the first Google Doc I've ever made myself. It's a Google Sheet, I guess. It's the Excel version.
Nice.
It works pretty much the same way. I'm calling this, the name of this machine I'm calling is the Cheap Ass 4. And the CPU, an Intel Q6600. This was the processor I put in my first desktop computer. Unfortunately, I still don't own mine, but it is a 2.66 gigahertz quad core. It can be had on eBay for the price of $30. These are all buy it now prices.
This is not under the mail time stuff that I'm seeing, or is it?
No. Dave sent Edgar's build in, which we'll talk about in a minute. But so this is my build. A Intel Q6600 quad core. It needs to be overclocked. which is why I've picked out an MSI P35 motherboard. The P35 was one of the better chipsets that would allow you to overclock decently well. This is back when overclocking wasn't quite so easy. It took me like months of careful tweaking, like an hour or two a week, to coax my Q6600 up to 3.15 gigahertz was like the absolute max it would do without melting. But an MSI P35 motherboard, $60. Case, cheap Roswell case, $30. I just picked it out as a price. I'm going to ask around, see if anyone has a generic case, and I'll just take $30 off the price, just because that seems like something we shouldn't have to buy because someone will already own one. But $30 is the budget. A Thermaltake 430 watt power supply. Thermaltake's a perfectly decent power supply company. $20 used, and I think 430 watts will be plenty. I have a 2.5.
I love Thermaltake because my 850's powered 3 different builds since 2008. They are awesome.
I have a 2.5-inch drive from a laptop. It's a 2.5-inch 500 gigabyte hard drive, so it's basically a PS4 hard drive, and it's just kicking around. On eBay, it goes for $40, but I already own it. And then 4 gigs of Kingston DDR2 memory, actually going all the way back to DDR2. I have budgeted $25. I got to shop around on eBay because DDR2 hasn't been out for a while. There's a whole lot of confusing eBay listings that talk about server memory and AMD only memory, and I have to go poke through that a little bit. But it seems like I can probably get it for $25. Mouse and keyboard, generic ones, $20. You can get them for as low as 10, but those are horrible. So $20 will get you a perfectly serviceable mouse and keyboard. And then the video card, a GTX 660. The reason I went with this over a 7950, which is technically a little faster, is the 660 has Shadow Play, which would let us do 60 FPS streaming to Twitch. So technically better streaming than the PS4, and is still a pretty decent performer for $120. That all comes out to $345. So nice. I have $5 of luxury to work with.
Do you have a link for all this, by the way?
Is that including shipping?
Well, all those were free shipping. So,
oh, cool. I was like,
so yes and no.
Shipping comes to $750.
You're trying
From
to screw me over
Taiwan.
there. I'm throwing it in the admin chat and TeamSpeak if any of you guys want to look at the spreadsheet. Okay. So that's my idea. I am pretty confident that's going to perform as well as a PS4. I'm pretty confident. And I think it can do that. I think it would be able to stream. And honestly, I think it'd be able to play games on medium settings for years to come. And medium settings are as good as most consoles are. If you can play Assassin's...
no.
Joe,
PS4 is a lot more on high. Yes, it is.
And that's why they're getting 5 FPS in Assassin's Creed Unity? Is all them high settings? You think if they couldn't have knocked it down low, they would have?
Read Eurogamer and read those things. They're saying a lot of these games that are coming out, they're all generally at high, and a lot of them have even ultra stuff in it.
To compare them,
there's differences. Yeah.
To compare them, what we do is I try to find 1080p footage of those games being played. Games that are both.
You guys are.
No. I'm being reasonable here.
No.
It has to be a game.
Dave's just like, oh,
that's available.
Console new. I'm like, the differences are so small compared to like the amount of cash you're.
Technical differences are still differences, Joel.
Oh yeah, they are. But I'm just saying the amount of differences.
We're not comparing the end experience. We're comparing the technical reality.
Oh, I already know that.
But for this project, we're comparing the end experience.
I wasn't aware of that.
Well, I mean, we're using some old janky hardware, and it's probably going to be an old crappy case.
Let's see 2 years from now, that thing
if it'll
still
crank out 30 FPS on medium high settings,
yeah,
it's fine. Right?
That'll be impressive if it can do that in the next 2 years. Yeah, at 1080p.
We will see. Well,
because the PS4s are just going to continually getting better.
I would say.
That's how it
see,
works.
Here's the thing, though. You say at 1080p.
Yeah,
900p for most of the games will be comparing it out for a while because most console games are not hitting.
Modern
1080p.
Warfare is at 1080p at 60 frames, and it looks delicious. It looks amazing.
It looks delicious.
It looks delicious.
Joel, that is something that I would say.
It looks delicious. No, I'm saying I understand. Don't pretend like I have no idea. Like, oh, consoles are always at 4K. No, I've been around this loop for many years. I know what it looks like. I'm just saying, yeah, I'm curious. Let's see how well it holds up. It's gonna be fine right now. Yeah, the 400 is probably gonna do really well right now.
I saw a comment
posted
next online.
Year or so goes.
I saw a comment posted online last week where some general internet users like, guys, obviously the Xbox One, the HDMI supports 4K. We're gonna have a 4K patch this year. I was like, that's not how that works.
That game's been struggling. That console struggles to play things even at 900p. You're not getting a 4K patch, guys. Sorry. But now, see, Joel, the subjective part of this is, since we don't know exactly what settings a console game runs at, you can generally find out what resolution it's running at and stuff like that, but you can't
but
know...
we can use, you know, our
use your eyes. Well, that's the thing, is we're going to try to get a visually comparable experience, knowing that we may not be able to get all the specs exactly the same.
No. I mean, like, you know, Call of Duty. PS4, you know, in consoles are going to have certain different draw distance than PC. Like, I would say, if you have a low-end PC, right, the draw distance might be lower than on a console just because they can tweak certain specific customizations to make it a little bit farther than that, but not better in other textures. I'm saying, yeah. So, if you think that game, the PC is going to last for, like, several years doing way better than PS4 now, it'll do good for the next year or two.
Comparable or better.
Yeah, well, okay,
don't move the goalposts on us here, Joel. Comparable or better.
The same thing I say when I show you guys a PC and a PS4 like the Shadow of Mordor. You're like, oh my gosh, the difference is massive. I'm like, no, it isn't. It's not massive.
If I notice it instantly, it's massive enough. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I do notice immediately. I am who I am, Joel.
Yeah, well I could do the same. I could do the same thing with movies if you don't notice certain things. I could just totally pull out 1,000 things and go.
See, you guys don't get each other. The point is not to be douchebags about it.
No, I know that. I'm just saying I could easily go the other route.
It's a friendly competition. It's a friendly competition.
Welcome to the podcast, Snoov.
Snoov is already like 30 tabs deep in Reddit. He's like, oh, gosh.
I'm saying step back and be subjective and go, you know, the actual average user is going to be like, you know, this looks about the same.
I will be subjective.
That's what I'm talking about.
I
can tell the difference between anti-aliasing and not anti-aliasing. I understand that.
And none of the console games use the anti-aliasing, so this computer won't either. So Edgar's suggestions, and this is all new, so his aren't going to be quite as good. It's a Pentium dual-core 3.2 gigahertz ASRock motherboard, 4 gigs of memory, Western Digital, 7200 RPM hard drive, an R7 250X video card, a Bitphoenix case, a 500-watt EVGA power supply, DVD burner, and Windows 7 Home Premium. I guess he didn't know he didn't need to include the cost of...
He just threw it together.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's fine. Oh, no, actually, the cost of that isn't in there. Okay, so that's not... The cost of that OS isn't included. That's not a bad build if you're going to do it brand new, but that would not compete with the PS4. I'm pretty confident. So what do you guys think about my build, Dave? What do you... Or Snoov, feel free to jump in here, or have no opinion.
For access to the document.
I put it in TeamSpeak chat.
And I can't get into it.
What do I have to do that? I have to hit the share button?
Check your email.
Yeah,
I didn't realize I'd closed it.
Okay, I'm sending it to Evil Viking.
Press your share button. Press your share button.
Just check
there is a share button. There literally is a share button, Joel. All right, hold on. Checking my email. Request for access. Okay.
I know there's a share button. I told you guys.
PC part picker link?
No, not a PC part picker link. It was it's a Google Sheets link. I'm gonna drop it.
Oh, I clicked the wrong one.
That's all right. I guess you'll have to request access too, because I don't know your email address, and I'm not gonna ask it on air. But yeah, that's my parts list. Dave, you should have access now.
Okay, I can see it now.
Okay, cool.
Put my link in the chat. Or yeah, my email in the chat.
That's a good deal on that power supply for $20. Wow.
That's not that hard to get though. You can even get brand new Corsairs on sale for that much money. So like that's super.
Really?
All this is very attainable. This is not like pie in the sky stuff. This was all like average buy it now prices. So.
Bye, Joel.
All right, Snoov, you should have access to it now. So I think this is very, very doable. Now we'll have to, after the fact, we'll have to talk about what we got to do so I can stream the podcast from it, because it's going to require a little more of a fancy capture setup, just because I got to mix all the audio sources and everything. But I think the shadow play on the GPU can do all the heavy lifting. I just need something to get the signal in. But yeah, any thoughts on the list?
That looks pretty good to me.
I mean,
I wouldn't know. I'm out of that game.
The CPU is old, but I mean, the Q, I mean, that whole series was like a cornerstone of gaming.
Man, the good old days with the Q6600 and the GTX 8800 GT.
Wait, isn't that the one I had before that?
You had
I didn't have an i7. I know I didn't have an i7.
You had the series right after that, Joel, like the second gen of that series, basically. Yeah.
This is even older than mine.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh.
Joel's feeling pretty good about his chances.
No, I mean, that
Joel's feeling pretty good about his chances.
I mean, I didn't have a very good video card. I did have the 560. That's what I had.
Yeah.
I could run what's the game? Tomb Raider, and that was a really, really good port too.
And James is an inspiration to me because he's still
PC
gaming
games.
it on what, a GTX 550 or something.
Yeah, he can't do jack on ARMA. But I mean, that's not saying much. But Tomb Raider, dang it, we need to find like a middle ground of a game. That's like
Tomb Raider would be a good comparison because you can get that on a next gen console. You can get that on.
But Tomb Raider ran really well as a game on a PC.
Well, that's
Most
ideally
PC games don't run it as good.
No,
Like
but
that.
that's what you want a game that's well optimized.
Like PC game though. Okay, here we go. Assassin's Creed Unity.
It's like terrible on everything.
Yeah,
it's
terrible. Let's compare the broken console version to the broken PC version.
we need to find like the middle ground. Like,
well, I think the middle ground, Joel, means we're not going to play any games that have been released within like a month. We have to wait until the games have gotten those first couple weeks of patches on all the systems before we have any idea of how they perform.
What about Shadow of Mordor?
I'm not going to be a dick
Shadow
about
of Mordor
that.
did run really good.
I'm curious. I am curious. I've always wanted to buy a PC around the same as a console and just see how long it lasts without upgrading it.
Well, we will do it. That's the
project.
project.
In a year and a half, then I'm like, that sucks.
The cheap ass 4 will be a hallowed member of the CSG community, which we will consult anytime Joel's fussing about consoles performing so well.
Joel will be arguing. You'll just see like Jeremiah pick it up off the floor and just raise it to the heavens.
Now, Dave, I do want you, Dave, to put together your own build just so we can just like come up with the best thing you can come up with. Maybe go a different route with the processor if you can figure something out.
Yeah, I personally would go higher on the CPU just because my CPU was very, very slow. It really was.
Yeah, I mean,
and especially if it's lower than the CPU I had before this, I think that's a bad choice.
Okay. Well, your CPU now is really amazing, so...
No, I know that, but I'm saying the one I had beforehand...
I understand, yes.
This one's worse than the one I had beforehand.
I understand.
And that one was not good at all.
All right. And guys...
No, go ahead, get it.
All right. Patreon, this is what you have wrought. Giving us something new to fight over. Thank you for donating money to us. We're not building.
They can at least stream the podcast at more than 15 frames per
second.
Right.
That's a side benefit is that
we'll get up to 24, so be like cinematic.
Well, earlier today, I was streaming at a locked 30 on the Blu-ray preset for Shadowplay. Dave, you ought to play around with that preset. In your Shadowplay,
I'm scared to now.
It's gonna brick your card. I mean, what? You have the same card I do or something? Oh, yes, you do.
But at the same time, from the same retailer.
All right. That's our podcast, though. Thank you guys for coming out. As always, you can write in to be a part of the show, casualshenanigans@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at casualshenaniga, at germgaming, at EvilViking. Snoov, is yours snoov603 on Twitter?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Snoov, for coming to be a part of the podcast tonight.
Yeah, man.
Not a problem. Thank you guys for inviting me. I had fun. I appreciate it.
Been wanting to have you on for a while. We've gotten lazy about inviting people on for the past couple months. I've been really busy with work, and it's not like any of these jokers will do any work for the podcast.
It's all Jeremiah's fault, basically.
Yeah,
is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
But
dude, my movie might be done in like 105 days.
That's maybe. A third of a year.
You want to hear something funny?
Year 4.
Steven's back in town on Saturday.
Again? Oh, not for the movie?
It wasn't for me. He's in town for a wedding, right? And I sent him a text. I was like, hey, so do you happen to have like an hour? And because the guy who's doing visual effects for me, he was having a hard time tracking a one shot. Like just a hand with his hand grabbing something, and that sounds bad. Just hand grabbing stuff, can't track it. So I was like, "Do you want to shoot something Saturday morning, old times? Just have fun." Still shooting.
Did he reply to you, or did he just ignore you like a smart person?
No, he's like, dude, Steve's always great. He's like, heck yeah, man, sounds awesome.
In his mind, he's just hearing those royalty checks rolling in. One day I'll get paid.
Look at this, I got $10.
I'm also excited for this weekend. Tomorrow is officially my last wedding of the season. I'm so ready to have a weekend again at some point.
Is it tomorrow or is it Saturday?
It's tomorrow. It's a rare Friday wedding, but they typically lock up the whole weekend, so I'm excited. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming out. Follow us on Twitter, donate to the podcast, and we'll give you stuff.
Donate the podcast.
Donate to the podcast, and we can build the cheap ass 4. Thank you for coming out.
It's a worthy cause.
Thank you for listening. And Snoov, we always close the podcast out. I should have prepped you ahead of time. But we always tell everyone to stay casual. There's also a lot of slurs people shout, but in general, we're supposed to stop the podcast by saying stay casual. So, could you take us out this week?
All right, guys, stay casual.